Hello guys and gals, and welcome to another episode of Unique Items. Today we are going to be looking at a relatively fast weapon, as you can see in my inventory here. It is known as the Coldsteel Eye, Cutlass, which means it is a nightmare level item, or a exceptional item. The Coldsteel Eye Cutlass is an interesting one. It does have some interesting effects on it, which do make it somewhat useful in certain scenarios. The Coldsteel Eye Cutlass has most notably the Deadly Strike, as well as some other interesting mechanics, and we'll go over that together today in the video. So right off the bat, you'll notice that it has a damage of 28 to 73, which isn't really super duper amazing for level 31, but it's okay. It's decent. We have a durability of 72 to 72, which is important because you're probably going to be using this on a character that attacks fast, and it is a very fast weapon. So it's also going to attack fast, on top of the fact that you're going to be attacking fast, so you're going to be attacking super fast. And having a higher durability is definitely nice because it prevents you from having to run back to town over and over again to repair this bad boy. We have a dexterity of 52 and a strength requirement of 25, so relatively low on both of those fronts, which means most characters will probably be able to use this just fine. We have a level requirement of level 31, which is really what this item is going to be judged on. It's going to be judged on that 31 level. And we will upgrade this to the Hell difficulty version, but I'm jumping ahead of myself. We have a very fast attack speed on this, and it also comes with a 20% increased attack speed as well, which makes this an extremely fast weapon. You will probably notice that this weapon goes much faster than most other weapons that you put on. It's really kind of built around that. It does have a 200 to 250% enhanced damage, which is a rather large variable of 50%, and it is going to make a big difference since the base damage on this weapon is relatively low, being an extremely fast weapon. Weapons are generally balanced around that aspect. They're balanced around the whole, if it's a really fast weapon, it does no damage, but it attacks really quickly, and it makes up for that low damage by attacking quickly. And then you have the weapons that are really fast, really slow, that attack really hard, but they make up for it by the fact that they hit so hard every single time they do land a strike. And that is really what's going on here, is that the Cutlass tends to have relatively low damage. One of the downsides to this, though, is that you can hit the fast cap speed even with some slow weapons. So even if you have like a relatively slow weapon, you can usually, by putting shale runes in it, putting on equipment that has increased attack speed, and generally just making your character go faster, like fanaticism, things like that, you can usually reach the cap even with slow weapons. So what happens is these really fast weapons can hit the cap a lot easier, but the cap is still there, and they can't go past the cap, and so they lose their advantage of being a fast weapon when that occurs. We also have a 6% mana steal, which is flat. It's nice to have mana steal on a weapon, especially for a Zealer, so you don't have to worry about any kind of mana potions or anything. We have 50% Deadly Strike, which is a flat amount. So that means that when we attack, there is a 50% chance that any damage that we deal that is physical will be doubled, which is absolutely amazing. And Deadly Strike does in fact stack with Critical Strike, so if you were on a Barbarian who has Critical Strike with Weapon Mastery, you would have, for instance, max Weapon Mastery is like, 30%, 29%, something like that. So let's say you had a 29% chance of Critical Strike. Critical Strike would roll, and if it failed, Deadly Strike would roll. And if Deadly Strike fails, then they both fail. But as long as one of them succeeds, you will get ×2 damage. It cannot roll ×4. We also have Hits Blind's Target, which we don't know exactly how long this is. But as I found out in one of my previous videos, blind actually is affected by difficulty. So when you have a Hell difficulty character, the blind is much diminished in its duration, as opposed to Nightmare, which is probably where you're going to be using this. It is about half, and then normal difficulty, it's a full duration. If I'm taking a guess here at the numbers without actually running the calculations, it's probably 100% in normal, 50% in Nightmare, and 33% in Hell. That's probably what it is. We have slows target by 30%, which is absolutely amazing to have on a weapon. It means that any target that we hit will be 30% slower. Unfortunately, this does not affect cast speed, but it does affect range damage and physical attacks, like melee attacks. So any a skill that counts as a ranged skill or a melee skill will be slowed down. Also, the monster's movement speed when they actually run around will be slowed down as well, which is very nice. And of course, you can throw a socket in this, and you can put something nice in there. Probably not a shale rune because it's already really fast. We have a Cutlass Coldsteel Eye Cutlass, which is Ethereal here, and this one is 42 to 108 damage, and it's very nice, but unfortunately at this level there's nothing you can do with it other than just hold on to it. You could maybe put it on a Barbarian Mercenary if you're using a Barbarian Mercenary for you know, your level 31 character. Do keep in mind though that they are beefing up the mercenary soon, so the Act 1, the Act 3, and the Act 5 mercenary are all getting some buffs, so maybe this might actually be a very good weapon for a Barbarian Merc. Do keep in mind that Barbarian Mercs get double damage when they are utilizing a one-handed weapon. So all of the stats on the weapon are increased by a factor of 2. You know, essentially the physical damage and the like maximum damage and minimum damage, not effects like Deadly Strike. That's different. But putting this on a Barbarian would actually be very effective. He would get the double damage. He would get the slowest target. He would get the very nice, you know, extremely fast attack speed. I could see that being viable for a little level 31 Barbarian. Now, we're going to upgrade this to the highest tier, which is going to be only one tier up. But to do this, we are going to need a Pull and a Lum, and then a Perfect Emerald. And we're going to need 2 of them because we're going to do the Ethereal version as well. And let's see here. All right, so Paul, Lum, Perfect Emerald, and we go from 28 to 73, 52 Dexterity, 25 Strength, level 31, to 91 to 161 damage, 95 Dexterity, 138 Strength, 52 level requirements. Now that's actually a pretty solid upgrade in my opinion. The level didn't go up so high that it was I would consider it end game. Level 52 is still mid game, and the damage on it is actually very nice, 91 to 161 when you consider that it has 50% Deadly Strike. That's actually very nice. The Dexterity and Strength did go up quite a bit to 95 and 138, and unfortunately because of that I can no longer wield it. But a very solid weapon at level 52. I'm actually quite impressed. So let's take the Cold Steel Eye Cutlass Ethereal version, and let's upgrade that one. So we're going to go from 42 to 108, 42 Dex, 15 Strength, which is relatively low, and 31 level. And we're going to go to 136 damage, 241 on the top end. Very, very nice, with a Dexterity of 85, Strength of 128, and level 52. So actually a pretty solid upgrade candidate for Nightmare to Elite. I feel like that is an exceptionally nice level 52 weapon. If I was a level 52 character, I would love to have a 136 damage, 241 damage, freaking super fast Atigan with 50% Deadly Strike, hits blinds target, and slows target by 30%. And I feel like we need to take these out and we need to play with them. But unfortunately, because this one is Ethereal, we will need to Zod it. It's a good thing I have a Zod rune. Bam. So we're going to put these over on a Barbarian who can dual wield both of them, and we'll have some fun blinding some targets and utilizing the very nice slows target and all the other nice effects. So let me go grab my Barbarian and I'll be right back. Alright, so here we are on Immortal King set, and we're going to go play around with these, shall we? So let me go ahead and pop my shouts, why not? And we'll see if we can kill Eldritch. And I know you guys like to see my HP when I'm fighting, so let me move myself over a little bit. And let's get in there and do some frenzies. As you can see, some nice blinding effects going on. Definitely very nice. The Deadly Strike is definitely doing its work, causing lots and lots of damage. And honestly, quite a nice quite a nice set of weapons. I mean, granted, I wouldn't use these over, you know, like a freaking death rune word or a grief rune word or something like that. But I could totally see these being relatively useful for a low-level character. The level 52 version, which is the normal version, of course, is very nice for a level 52 character. And unfortunately, if you do Zod it, the level requirement will go up to 76 because the level of a Zod is level 76. Which means you have to judge the Ethereal version on a level 76 scale, which... Not really quite sure about that one. I suppose if you were putting it on a mercenary, you wouldn't have to Zod it, so it could be useful at level 52 on a mercenary, and it's actually quite nice damage for a barbarian mercenary at level 52. I feel like this is a really solid merc weapon for a little barbarian. It also would make a pretty solid zeal weapon for a paladin, because of course you know paladins do not have deadly strike, and I think that's one of the most important things here, is that not only does Coldsteel Eye give you mana steal, it also is relatively fast, has hits, blinds target, and slows target, but it also gives you 50% deadly strike, which as a paladin is very important for a zeal paladin, specifically because you don't have any form of deadly strike. Barbarians and Amazons have natural deadly strike. You know, they have the sword mastery, which gives them 30% at level 24. Druids could also get some use out of this, perhaps. Yeah, most druids tend to go with two-handed weapons, but if you were a druid and you happen to find this, it might be better than anything you have at the moment. And the deadly strike will also come in handy for druids because they also do not have any form of deadly strike. So very nice there. All in all, I think it's a pretty solid weapon at its lower form. And I think it's a pretty solid upgrade for a level 52 weapon to the Atigan. Is it going to be an endgame weapon? No, it's probably not going to be an endgame weapon. But that 50% deadly strike and the slows target are certainly very alluring. And the speed of this weapon is going to be considerably fast. I mean, as you can see, when I'm in there, especially with a Frenzy Barbarian, who is beefing up his speed even further, the speed of this weapon is quite nice. And the blinding effect isn't terrible either. I kind of like that damage. It's nice. A lot of crowd control on this thing. When you consider that not only is it slowing the targets down, but it's also blinding them, the crowd control on this thing is actually pretty sweet. Not bad. If you want to find this particular item, we can go over the treasure class real quick on this. I don't see why not. So let's take a look at the treasure class for the Coldsteel Eye. So we're going to look up treasure class D2. And we're going to get a roundabout idea of where this drops. So, Cold Steel. Why are you doing this to me? Coldsteel Eye. It looks like it's a relatively low Q level of only 39 and a treasure class of 45, which means we're probably going to see this drop in the majority of, I want to say, nightmare difficulty. Let's take a look and see what kind of zones. So it looks like pretty much most of Act 2 in nightmare difficulty. Some of the zones in Act 1 are not high enough in nightmare difficulty. So we were looking at Act 2 Nightmare and Beyond is really where you're going to find this. You might be able to find it from Ethereal in nightmare difficulty, but for the most part you're looking at Act 2 Nightmare and up. So any zone past Act 2 Nightmare is probably going to drop this item. And it's about the right level too, because that's about when you would probably need it, because the level of those zones kind of correspond with the level of this weapon. Anyway, as always, I do appreciate you guys and gals watching my videos, even when they are on an odd weapon like this. And keep watching.